The old station wagon, packed tighter than a sardine can, sputtered its last breath as it rolled to a stop in front of Hill House. Dust, disturbed by the car's arrival, danced in the late afternoon sunbeams that somehow managed to pierce the oppressive gloom hanging over the estate. Four friends, drawn together by a shared thirst for adventure and a Craigslist ad that promised more than it delivered, stepped out of the car. Exhaustion from the long drive melted away, replaced by a prickling unease that seemed to emanate from the house itself.
Well, this is it. The infamous Hill House.
His attempt at a confident grin felt strained, even to him. Olivia, her eyes wide with a mixture of anticipation and dread, couldn't help but feel a tremor run down her spine as the shadow of the house seemed to reach out, enveloping them in its chill. Built in the grand, ostentatious style of the Gilded Age, Hill House had long since surrendered to the relentless grip of time and neglect. The once vibrant paint, now peeling and faded, revealed the skeletal structure beneath. They spent the daylight hours exploring their temporary home. Each room seemed to hold its breath, thick with forgotten memories and unspoken secrets. The silence was broken only by the creaking of floorboards beneath their feet.
Did you guys hear that?
As dusk bled into night, they gathered in the cavernous kitchen. Olivia, attempting to break the mood, insisted on cooking a proper meal. But even the aroma of her famous spaghetti couldn't dispel the unease.
Did you guys hear that?
Noah's voice, barely a whisper, cut through the silence. His head snapped up, his gaze darting to the shadows in the corners of the room. The sound, barely audible at first, grew steadily in intensity, a slow, rhythmic thumping that seemed to originate from somewhere deep within the walls of the house. It was a heartbeat, steady and insistent, pulsing with a life that belonged not to the living. Liam, ever the skeptic, dismissed it as an old house settling. Olivia, however, couldn't shake the feeling that they were being watched, their every move scrutinized by unseen eyes. Sleep, when it finally came, was a fitful and uneasy thing. Haunted by vivid nightmares and the ever-present feeling of being observed, they tossed and turned in their beds. Each creak of the house, each sigh of the wind against the windows, sent their hearts racing. Olivia awoke with a gasp, her body bathed in cold sweat. The room was pitch black, the only light coming from the slivered moon hanging high in the night sky. And then she saw it. A figure, tall and skeletal, silhouetted against the faint light filtering in through the doorway. Fear, cold and paralyzing, gripped Olivia's throat. She wanted to scream, to run, but her body refused to obey. The figure, its face shrouded in darkness, seemed to pulsate with a malevolent energy, feeding on her terror. As the days bled into nights, the strange occurrences continued to escalate. Footsteps echoed down empty hallways. Whispers too faint to decipher seemed to emanate from the very walls themselves. Objects moved inexplicably, defying the laws of physics. One by one, the group began to unravel. Liam, his skepticism crumbling in the face of the unexplainable, retreated into himself. Noah, always the sensitive one, became increasingly withdrawn, haunted by visions he couldn't explain, and Olivia, forced to confront her own deepest fears, found herself teetering on the edge of madness. They had come to Hill House seeking adventure, a break from the mundane. What they found, however, was something far more sinister, something that burrowed deep beneath their skin, laying bare their deepest fears and insecurities. The realization struck them all at once. The true horror of Hill House lay not in its ghostly apparitions or its eerie sounds, but in its uncanny ability to reflect their own inner demons back at them. It was a mirror, warped and distorted, reflecting the darkest corners of their souls. Armed with this understanding, Olivia rallied the others. They would not allow themselves to be consumed by their fear, to be torn apart by the whispers of doubt. They would face their demons head-on. Together they ventured into the heart of the house, following the trail of cold dread to the attic. It was there, in that dusty, forgotten space, that they found the source of their torment. An old journal, its pages filled with the frantic scribblings of a tortured soul. The journal belonged to the former mistress of the house, a woman driven to madness by grief and isolation. As Olivia read aloud from its pages, the house seemed to sigh, its energy shifting. It was as if the house itself was releasing the pent-up sorrow that had held it captive for so long. With the truth revealed, a strange sense of peace settled over the house. The oppressive atmosphere lifted, replaced by a gentle melancholy. The shadows, once so menacing, seemed to retreat, absorbed back into the walls from whence they came. As the first rays of dawn pierced through the grime-covered windows, casting long shadows across the dusty floorboards, they made their way outside. Standing on the overgrown lawn, bathed in the warm glow of the rising sun, they watched as Hill House, finally at peace, seemed to sigh one last time before falling silent. They had come to Hill House seeking adventure, and they had found it. But they had also found something far more profound: the courage to face their fears, to confront the darkness within themselves, and to emerge from the shadows forever changed.